members who are not here. So once again, you're most welcome. Thank you so much for coming through to this session. This is the Transformation Professionals Club, and we are doing this session in partnership with Badiri Consults. So we are glad to have you here. All right. So good evening, good morning, whatever time you're watching this session, and want to welcome you again, once again, to this session. Today, we would like to look at the founder employee wellness. We want to get into this conversation and see, amidst what is going on, either personally or in your company, what are some of those aspects that you need to be able to indulge in that will keep your mind in shape such that you do not sink? So we have a lot that is going on from economic aspects, political aspects, aspects around family, aspects around our workplaces, our environments. There's a lot that is going on. But as an entrepreneur, as an employee, these are things that we need to be able to not just blind ourselves on, but we need to be able to make sure that as we embrace whatever is going on, we are also ensuring that our wellness is in check. Whatever we are consuming online, whatever messages are coming through, and whatever storms we are actually facing. We have quite a number of people that have been affected by the Trump funds freeze. They said funds freeze, quite a number of employees, and quite a number of businesses that have been affected. We have quite a number of things that are happening. And no matter whatever kind of journey yours could look like, we want to say that it's well. And that's why we felt this is very important. And today, we're glad to have Coach Ruth. So Coach Ruth has been with us before. This is not her first session. She came through and took us through a session on career growth. And in commemoration of what you would call the mental health month, this is a month where we reflect on mental health. Coach Ruth felt it necessary for us to have this conversation, something that we are really grateful as the Transformation Professionals Club, because we always want to have these relevant conversations that are able to equip us as professionals. I know we've had quite a number of previous sessions on career growth, public speaking, and all that, but sometimes you sit back and you're like, why am I not really achieving what I'm really aspiring? Whatever situation I'm going through, when will this come to an end? And how do I survive through the storms? The storms that only you can count because you are in there in your room, wherever you are, and you can't really comprehend. So I want to invite Coach Ruth to come through, but before she comes through, I was trying to run through her profile here. So Coach Ruth is a certified transformation coach who is accredited by the International Coaching Federation through the Coach Masters Academy from Singapore. Coach Ruth is also a strategic human resource professional with over 14 years of extensive experience in HR across various environments. According to her LinkedIn, she's a talent manager at Root, and she's also the founder and lead at Badiri Consults. She has worked for quite a number of other organizations, including TechnoServe, Vet Center, educate, among others. Coach Ruth is also a mother, and she'll be able to share with us into that journey. Thank you so much, Coach Ruth, and I take this pleasure to invite you to be able to share with the community about today's topic. Over to you, Coach Ruth.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. I don't know, Coach, can you see me?
Yes, I can see you.
Okay. All right. There we go. It's such a pleasure to be back. I can only thank God that I must have made an impact. That's why I've been invited again. So thank you so much, Coach Samuel, and thanks also for the amazing work that you are doing to bring this transformative community together of professionals. It's a pleasure to be a part of it and to contribute in a meaningful way. So today's topic is quite close to my heart. It's not a topic I would normally have picked, but the topic keeps picking me. As Samuel has already said, being in HR for quite a long time, we were being prepped to be shrinks, to be priests, to be all these things that touch on the heart and mind. So on that journey of being able to support employees, I believe that's why this topic has become very close to my heart, and I have found several other spaces that people are inviting me to talk about founder and employee wellness. So whether you're building a business or showing up daily in one, your mind is your greatest asset. And as founders, I know here we are, as my introduction goes, I'm a founder, I'm also an employee. So I'm going to take those two tracks. I'll keep interchanging because at the end of the day, this is the same human being. And some are in the business space, some are employees, others are still in transition, looking to be employed or seeking to start businesses. But the beauty about the topic, it cuts across all human beings. As long as you have a mind, then you are in the right space this evening. And as founders, then we are facing a lot of decision fatigue. It's not easy starting a business. There's a lot of, shall I call it isolation? Because sometimes it's only you who can see what is ahead. Sometimes you look like the mad scientist who is so convinced that you have a problem to solve and no one else is. And the pressure to always look like you have it together, because surely, probably you're coming from a job or a space where people had always seen you like you had things together. But I know entrepreneurship is that journey that has humbled all of us to come to a place where we are thinking, oh my goodness, I never thought I would be the one on this side, thinking that I have to forfeit maybe a meal to be able to afford data because I have this important pitching call with my investors, for instance. And on the other end, employees are navigating a lot of job insecurity. We have seen what's going on, and not just in the NGO space. The economy worldwide has really struggled. And before even you get on the job, it's already stressful right from university. You're being, the promises that were made that education is the key to success. And here you are with all your papers and you've been tamaking. So even as the people who are on the inside, some of them want to get out. And we have seen how that can end up being a very stressful space, both for employees and even the employers as well. Because sometimes we focus on just the employees and forget also that employers are then the founders who are going through this stress. So that's why I'm saying we are keeping it quite balanced, because when you talk about issues to do with performance, they're going to touch on you as the employee, but it's also the responsibility of the employer to make sure that the company remains profitable. And just as human beings, we found ourselves hanging in the balance of, work-life balance. Is it an imbalance or work-life imbalance? It's quite interesting. So both sides of the venture need to prioritize mental wellness, and not just for survival, but for sustainable growth. So let's ask ourselves today, how well is your mind doing? How well is your mind doing? But before we go there, just allow me, I'd like to share presentation I had. I hope everyone can see my presentation.
It's coming through.
You can give me a thumbs up.
It's coming
Yes,
through.
It's not yet there. Okay, I
But
think
you
it
put
has.
in presentation mode, and there is also, I think yes, I think there was something obstructing. There's that is obstructing up. That one, you could just move it down. Yes, that one. It's
keeps
better.
moving. All right. Okay. We'll try work with what is there. But I think you can see most of the screen. So yeah, thanks, Coach, again for your introduction. I'm a child of God. I'm a wife and mother of 2 amazing children. I'm also a founder and the Chief Visionary Officer. I'm still looking for my CEO at Badili Consults, which is a HR consulting and coaching company. We are supporting SMEs, NGOs, to just be able to raise a fearless and positive culture generation of leaders who, of course, are going to impact their circles of influence. So we have those people who want to outsource their HR department. Badili has a solution for you, and we do end-to-end, right from recruitment to onboarding to performance management, to everything else that touches on the employee wellness programs, employee welfare, coaching, everything to help the employee do better. So before even we get to the deep of it, I wanted us to just breathe in and I may not be able to play the music right now, but just imagine yourself in the ocean. I just want us to take like 30 seconds to visualize a place you call peace. It could be rain outside your window. Just close your eyes and visualize a beautiful space. We can do this together. Just try to get rid of any thoughts in your mind and breathe in and out. Breathe in and out. We'll do it 4 times and then we'll get back to the training. So breathe in with me. 1, 2, go. Then hold your breath. Then out. Breathe in, count up to 4. Then hold and out. And breathe in. Hold and out. When you breathe in with your nose and hold. Whew, and out. How does that feel? It's part of mental wellness. It's called mindfulness. And it's a practice I learned. And every now and then when I find my child hyperventilating, they're trying to explain something, they're crying, we do our meditation and just breathe in and we're able to catch our breath. So it's one of the tools we are going to keep using along the journey of mental wellness for you to keep catching yourself in that moment. And for us to be able to do that, you always need to get rid of anything else that's making you to not be present. So I hope that was helpful, but we'll be able to get the takeouts later. So just in the chat, if you could use the chat, I love an engaging audience. This is not going to be quiet. Just drop an emoji of what describes you, of how you're feeling right now. Feel free to drop it in the group. Whatever emoji, what's that feeling that can describe you right now? Feel free to drop it there in the chat. I'm looking to see who's dropping theirs. Just an emoji, surely. I'm not seeing anyone putting in their emoji. Oh, okay. Those are nice. Those are nice emojis. People are smiling. The love hearts, are they in love? We see you, Winnie. Others are in a celebratory mode. Stephen, we see you looking cool. Christine, she's anguished. Stephen is, oh wow, a sweaty smile. Charity is struck. Feel free, keep the emojis is coming. Nicole, I see you. You have your sunglasses on. I don't know whether it's the Kampala sun, but it's in the evening. Maybe it's your future. That's super cool. So everyone feel free to drop an emoji on the group. What's your mood right now? What's your mood right now? I'm waiting for 2 more, then we can continue. Okay. Someone is in a kissy mood? Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for that. All right, so why we're here, we want to be able to create a culture that encourages mental well-being and where you as an employee or a founder can feel safe to prioritize your mental health as you contribute meaningfully to shared goals. Because remember, at the end of the day, we said your mind is the most powerful asset right now. You matter and you are important. So it's this May was Mental Health Awareness Month, and the theme was turning awareness into action. Because I think where we're at right now, there's been a lot of conversations around mental wellness or just the general well-being right through COVID. So we can't say that right now we are not aware what mental health is, but we'll keep going back to that space. And someone once said, in every story, there's strength. In every story, there's strength. And that's the power of what we are going to do today in learning to be able to tell our stories, because in those stories, that's where our strength is going to lie. So we want also to be able to define physical versus mental health. I have found this to be a very interesting, highlight whenever I've talked about mental wellness, because sometimes we think when you go to the gym, eat right, that you are doing everything else you're supposed to be doing for yourself. Yet there's like an iceberg. The biggest part of our health is actually mental health. And I believe that's why right now it's such an important area for, even economies to keep focusing on, because for the longest time we focused on our physical well-being while neglecting the mental health. And I totally understand here in Africa, at times we have that stigma of, the minute mental health or awareness of the same comes to mind, we are not very comfortable. We have not been, it's not been a part of our culture to say that I am not okay. It's just our recent generations who have, quit work. I told you last time, it was quite hilarious that they were not feeling the vibe, so they quit. It's our generation that has said, no, I actually want to go out and find myself. So I would like to get a leave of absence of 2 months. I want to go find myself. Those are not things we grew up, or those are not things 5 years ago that would have passed. So we have seen a lot changing in that space. And of course, want to be able then to see why it's important to have this mental well-being, and then some few tips on how we can improve our mental health wherever it is we are at. So because of time, allow me to just dig deep. And I was going to ask us what we think mental well-being is. And if you can see, that's a picture of your brain. And the question is, how are you exercising your brain? Because just like any muscle, if you don't exercise that muscle, then it starts dying. So then with mental well-being, well, your brain may not be able to carry that dumbbell or that weight as a picture, but I thought it was quite hilarious to be able to look at how our brain then is subjected to a lot of stress and strain. But the ability to cope with normal stress, this can also be defined as mental well-being. The ability to work productively amidst pressure. I think this topic today, we may not delve so deeply into those pressures. I think we are aware of those pressures. And then how can we develop a mental fortitude, which is the strength that we need to be able to say that we are healthy human beings. So mental wellness then is our ability to bounce back and stay on course despite the challenges that life throws at us. So it's very possible that there's some people who have been faced with challenges, a job loss, a loved one has died, you have been demoted, or there's been a loss in your financial status. People have lost their children. There's so many things happening. And I keep saying the employee, when they show up at work, they're representing several other people behind them. And it's up to us who are in the workplaces, either as an employer or as a team leader, to be able to understand, even as team members, to be able to appreciate that we all have a story. And remember, in every story, there's strength. So we should not be the kind of team members who are unkind and not being able to, appreciate the people in front of us. So then in a work setting, it would be defined mental wellness as the ability to remain engaged and productive regardless of life's challenges. You know how they say, leave your issues hang at the gate. You're now in office. That's one thing that has really been able to kill, the motivation or the spirit of humanity. Look at what COVID did. And I believe the leaders who took a lead during the COVID era were those who showed empathy, were those employers who were able to put the wellness of their team members at the forefront. I remember having a client at that time who said, I care about you. And as much as, yes, you're a consultant, and during this time, we are not going to be needing your services, but I want you to be comfortable. So here is a small allowance just to keep you going. At that point in time, that would have significantly contributed of what that wellness would look like, a difference. Because again, wellness is just not one thing. It's not just the physical aspect. And deep within the mental wellness, we want to be able to take a deeper dive. So then for someone who is experiencing, or for a good sign,
Hi, team. I think Coach Ruth's internet is playing, but she should be coming through. I want again to welcome each one of you who has come through to this session. I hope that you're getting some value from the sharings that she's sharing. I know that mental health is a conversation that each one of us needs to be able to reflect on. And so far, we've had a good start for the conversation. As we proceed, feel free to type your thoughts about what is being shared. And also, we also have a question and answer session where you'll be able to ask any questions that you think you might have on the presentation. Good to have you, Ruth. Sorry about the internet glitch, but we believe we have you here. And yeah, that's the world for us, but we have to continue with resilience. Over to you, Coach Ruth.
Absolutely. I think it's also testing our mental wellness. At this rate, even when you have 2-3 backups, it's quite, wow, Uganda, we're going to do better. I'm seeing some engineers on the group. I hope in due time we'll find this, a connection that's, we cannot have those downtimes. So let me take it on from where we're talking about the mental wellness. And I was trying to draw a picture like when you show up to a hospital and there's a triage that the nurse will tell you, come in. We want to be able to measure your blood pressure. We want to measure your oxygen levels. We want to see also your weight and height. And it's very interesting. There's moms who have told me they have gone to take their very sick children and they're feeling very strong, only for them to, the doctor say, but your oxygen levels are low. So personally, I also learned to get my vitals checked whenever I'm taking the children, to be checked. But for the mental wellness, same way, this is a triage. How we know that your mind is well, or it's healthy. And a healthy mind is very focused. When you pick on a task, you can see the arrow, that's a bull's eye. You're able to assess what it is you need to do to get to your bull's eye. That's your target. Those are your goals. They're very clear. And when you start working on them, you don't stop. Pressure management, and I'm not talking about the kind of pressure that is it's not the kind of pressure that someone else is causing, because sometimes just also being in a leadership position, that's already pressure in itself. But I'm talking about you as an employee, you as a founder, how you wired on the inside to be able to manage that pressure. You know, like a pressure cooker, it becomes a pressure cooker because it's able to contain every heat molecule that's pushing whatever it is you're cooking inside there. It's able to contain it and cook it. And as human beings, we also have different levels of being able to manage pressure. So you can be two people maybe growing up in the same family, going through the same challenges and issues, but you find that because of personalities or how the rock from which you're cut out, you have different levels of being able to manage pressure. And then also confidence. Confidence is but it's also two-sided. It has a light side, it has a dark side. So there's people whose confidence is really on another level. Like you meet people and you're like, whoa, are they okay? That's an elevated confidence where you're just very boisterous. You're talking about yourself, what
Okay, I think this is again another
have
technical glitch.
achieved, the kinds that put money on the table. So I'm not talking about that kind of a confidence in your self-awareness that you know who you are. Sorry?
No, proceed. It was just a glitch, but proceed. I can hear you now.
Okay. All right. Okay. We keep praying for the internet. We keep praying for it so that it can sustain our talk tonight. What is your ability to handle? What's your stress resilience level? Just like an odometer, is it low? Is it average? Is it high? And it starts with some self-awareness for you to know that I am not wired for this. Some people have a higher threshold. Well, others, the minute they're faced with a challenge, others, wow, they just avoid. They want to, relate with what they could be aware to know that for that kind of stress, maybe even just with the time frame or the mindset I'm in right now, I'm not able to deal with that level of a stressor. So right now, maybe my bandwidth is low, for instance, towards evening, and you've been tried and tested, first of all, with traffic, with your goals at work, and then you come home and you find this, wow, there's a stress trigger for you right there. So at that point in time, it's for you to be able to assess that at this point in time, I don't think I have a very high threshold. So your ability to be able to know where your odometer is reading, are you on low, average, high? That's also a sign of mental wellness. How about your mental performance? I don't want that giving us, games to play right now, but you can gauge yourself through some games online. Right now, people are gaming for life. So feel free to go and assess also your IQ, your EQ. There's all these assessments online that can gauge how your mind, is performing. Like the processor speed of your machine, you can also be able to see how well you're performing. And usually you can see how well you do maybe in your ability to retain information. Like when you read something, are you able to remember it? For instance, it's how quickly you're able to put pieces together, like guys playing Scrabble. Have you seen how some people just come up with words super fast and like, I should have thought about that. So in those playing of games, in engaging in brainstorming sessions, you're also able to gauge where you're at in terms of your mental performance. And then your physical performance is also affected by your mental well-being. If you have a foggy mind, you will not be able to get out of bed. Trust me. And that's why we are here today, that at the end of the day, the people you're seeing on the street have already rather exercising. I see so many of them on around the area I live. They have been able to beat this jump of, I need to trick my brain to get out of bed, because I see people running at this side of Muyenga, even when it's raining. Like it's dark, it's almost dark, but people are still running because I believe they've reached a point where their resilience levels are high. They've been able to manage their pressure, and they have to get out and be able to perform and meet their goals. So all those are signs of mental wellness. Yes,
Just a
please.
comment. I think somebody was saying the slides. I don't know if you want to present the slides again. I think we lost the presentation on the slides while you went off.
Okay.
Thank you. Right. I think they should be coming through. Thanks for the questions coming through. We'll be able to answer them. And much appreciated for your time here. We don't take anything for granted.
Are we able to see it now?
Okay, says it's starting to share. I think should be coming through. Okay, we have it now.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Thank you so much. All right. So those are some of the triage. So feel free to take a moment also to assess yourself. If at this point in time, where are you at? Where is your focus? If we can do a scale of 1 to 10, where is your focus right now? I know there's times even for me as a HR person, like I'm in even a performance management, but I know that week, for instance, I have struggled with my focus. So it's going to change. But the best thing is being able to know that I can do this assessment every so often whenever I need to. So feel free, if you have a pen and paper, to just jot down, focus, rate yourself. Where one is, oh gosh, I need your help, God, or I need to rest, or this weekend was just cut out for me. I need to be able to go find my rest so I can be able to assess maybe where I'm at with my goals. And then pressure management. How well have you handled pressure this week? If you could rate yourself. And sometimes we then can know the opposite of not being able to manage the pressure very well. Maybe you went shouted at your children, or you even shouted at the security guard, or anyone who may not really have been in the path of whatever it is that was a pressure trigger. But we can always catch ourselves when we are getting out of balance. So if you're not able to catch yourself when you're getting out of balance, that's a sign that there's a struggle you're having with your mental wellness. How about your confidence levels? How did you show up this week, despite the challenges, despite the setbacks? Has your confidence remained the same, or there was this presentation you went and you spent so much time preparing, but because of what had happened, your confidence levels were affected? How about your stress resilience this week? Where was it at? If it's a 5, maybe it's neutral. If it's a 10, it was quite high. So just like the odometer, be able to honestly evaluate yourself to get through with, the goals or the tasks you had set out in front of you. And how about your physical performance this week? Because movement comes actually from your mental wellness. And that's why we are keeping on that alarm. No, just count from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and get going. That's all part of mental wellness. Yeah. So be able to come back to that, assess yourself and see, am I actually mentally well? So at the beginning, we had said there are 2 components of health, and it's quite interesting when we look at these components and how we kept thinking. Actually, it's not too long ago, maybe I got to find out this some 7 or 8 years ago, that a big chunk of our health is actually the invisible one. It's what is not seen. It's at 90%. Who would have thought? What we can see is just 10%. And that's why even for people who have reached a point and they have felt that this is the end for me, there is all this, conversation around, we didn't see it. He was happy. He came to that party. We were with him. He even showed up for me when maybe I had a problem. But the physical health is only 10%. And that's why we are missing so many people who are struggling with mental health. Mental health does not sit here labeled that I am mentally unhealthy. It is in each one of us. And I believe each one of us who has attended this training, we have reached a point where we have felt enough is enough. But the more we are opening up these spaces to be able to talk that these things are normal, for us to take care of our own emotional health, that we can do this together. I think this is what is so powerful right now. We are going to beat it together, just like many other illnesses that we have beaten together as mankind. So our spirit is at the core of who we are, and our spirit is the conscious, where your thoughts are right now. What is your will? What do you believe you're capable of doing? All those make up your soul. And at 10% is just your body. This is a vessel we are seeing on the outside. Most of who you are is seated right in there. And that's why I'm here, just to implore you that if you've not been taking enough time to take care of yourself in there, then this is a space for us to say that we can start. It's never too late. How well are you taking care of your spirit? How well are you taking care of your soul? which is your conscious mind. These are your emotions, your thoughts, your will. And we're here also to discuss how self-awareness then plays on that journey. So then why is it important for this mental well-being? Yeah, and I like this graph because whenever we have done our reporting as human resource people, our reports, funny thing, are around the same things. So our targets, our KPIs usually have to do with like the stand turnover, but it's quite interesting that when our employees are struggling with, mental health, we find that the stand turnover also increases. And then this becomes a cost to the company. There's also reduced productivity. If you see, this constitutes 51%. So imagine if this 51% of employees or founders, we could find a way to, be able to support them, then would find ourselves even at a place where we've saved some costs. So when employees are at work and they're pretending to be working, there's that joke in Uganda that let the employees keep pretending to be working, the employers to pretend to keep paying. As we play that game, we're losing a whole 51% of what would have been our revenue just because there's reduced productivity. And it's also quite interesting that if you have 100 employees, out of the 100 employees, only 30% of them are engaged. So imagine if even that 30% that is engaged, their contribution towards your growth as a company is reduced up to 51%. And of course, when our employees are not well, there's going to be increased medical costs, which then eats to your bottom line in terms of revenue. And then employees, especially at this day and age, when they don't feel well, they'll tell you, I am not okay. I need to catch myself. Someone once told me, today, I don't feel like myself. Another one said, today is not my day. I need to go and rest. And at that point in time, you can't say, no, we can't give our look. So all these, which if as founder, you had not seen a cost to health, these are and the numbers don't to be important that for you, even as a founder, first of all, your own mental well-being, you're actually building a company on one end, and on the other end, you're crashing foundation. You're building while at the same time crashing. So as a founder, it's you who's showing up. We have
Sorry, I think again, Ruth had an internet glitch, but quite resourceful content that she's sharing. And we hope that internet is able to stabilize. Thank you so much for your active participation in the chat box as you try to respond the questions as we go through this. And I think this, like Ruth shared, such kind of things even test our minds, test our mental health, because that's how our day-to-day looks like. As you've planned everything, you have these things that just come and fall through, and you do not know how to be able to pick up yourself. But again, the resilience and keeping ourselves in shape. I like the graph where I think Coach Ruth is trying to share with us how I think it was a pie chart, how our mental health compares to our physical health. I think something that we sometimes we prioritize our physical health, visiting the hospital when we feel pains and here and there. But I think the question is, how often do you think of, let's say, talking to a counselor, talking to a coach, talking to somebody when you feel you're unwell, because it's actually also an aspect of your health. So good to have you, Coach Ruth, and we believe that your network is stabilizing. Thank you so much.
it's testing me, but it's not going to get at me. It's trying to test my threshold, and it's quite interesting that it has been steady the whole day because I've been using it. I have 2 levels, so I don't know what has happened at night, but I'll keep praying. I'm praying in the background. So we're talking about the costs mental health has on companies, and we were also talking about why it's important for you as a founder or as an employer to own your own journey of mental well-being, because a healthy founder makes a healthy company makes healthy employees. So if that can sink in, we'll be able to see that we have actually been called to steward the employees plus their minds, because that's what is generating the productivity that we are seeking from the employees. So just a question, how are you doing today? I know we drew our emojis, but look at this graph, because maybe you were telling us what's on the outside. It's quite difficult for you guys also to tell how I am doing, because I'm sure all of you can see my big smile. But this is meant to help us reflect, because as coaches, this is what we do. We want to implore you to reach a point where you can deeply reflect and see what the honest truth is. So deep down, how are you doing today? And can we also normalize being able to ask someone, how are you doing? And not because it's part of that usual greeting. But imagine if you asked me, Ruth, how are you doing right now? And I said, I am not well, Coach Samuel. What would be your reaction? You'd even be shocked. Really? Because we're so used, how are you doing? I'm okay. And then we move on to business as usual and we go. And that has become the rat race that has stopped us from being humane. But please look at this odometer again. It's happening right here in your brain right now. Where red is crisis, you're in a crisis right now, and that's where your odometer is. And as you move on up, you're struggling. For the crisis, only you can be able to tell what you consider crisis, because like I said, we have different experiences. We're all going through different things. I'm sure someone is going through a financial challenge, but they would not say that they're in a crisis. Someone else might be going through the same challenge, but for them, it's such a crisis. So it's really a very personal journey. So even as we attend this course here today, this workshop, it's meant to invoke us to look deep within and see, am I on survival mode? Because when you're on survival mode, it's not the same as someone who is thriving. When you're surviving, the way you respond, the way you look at life is going to be very different. And consequently, someone who's on a crisis mode, their mind is also on a very different level. And that's why sometimes you find maybe like a parent who's in a crisis breaking the law because they needed to take care of their child. And at that point in time, probably no one will understand what was going on into their minds, but they were in a crisis. And that could then explain or be the reason why some certain decisions were taken. But if we constantly come to a point where we can be genuine and ask ourselves, or even ask our friends, how are you doing? And be able to rate it with these 5 levels, we'll be able to be more healthier. So are you thriving this evening? And thriving here is someone then who is almost scoring very highly on the mental wellness that we just came from. And someone who's excelling then is doing quite well in those 6 areas we already assessed ourselves. So this is what the result of what you are scoring does. So if you find yourself, you didn't have so many 6 and the 7, you are rating yourself a 1, 2, 3, probably you're in a crisis. And the rest of the scoring will go in there. We may not get to it, but again, it's a very reflective journey. So some of the, shall I say, the outward, because again, the body is meant to be a signal for what is going on the inside. And if you're in a crisis, you're very anxious, your mood is low. That's why even us as trainers, whenever we come to the room, we want to make sure that the energy is flowing, because our brains just don't, train people when our attendees look like they're in a crisis. How about absenteeism? People are missing work. You're not present. It's not even just work. You're not showing up even for social functions. You're just constantly by yourself. And sometimes this is not by default. At the beginning, I said, as entrepreneurs, there's going to be a time where you're walking your own journey. No one understands why you do what you do. You're up at 4 a.m., finishing up that pitching deck, and this leads then to poor sleep. You're losing weight. You're in a crisis. And if you're someone in this training today, we send you love and hugs. And please, in the group, feel free to send hugs to people in a crisis. We don't know them. And if they would like to tell us I'm in a crisis, we'll be here to listen in. We'll create a space at the end during the question and answer where we can listen to any story that could inspire us. Yeah. And someone who's struggling, you're anxious, you're feeling depressed, you're tired constantly. You know how you sleep, you wake up, you're still tired. Your performance, it's not cutting it out. You have poor sleep. You go to bed probably even earlier, but you take 2-3 hours to fall asleep. Then you're awake again at 3. And food really for you right now is not your cup of soup. And surviving, you're worried, you're nervous, irritable, sad. They all sound like they're in a crisis, but as you can see, as you get towards thriving, you're more positive, you're calm, you're performing, you're sleeping well, you're eating well, you're actually nourishing your physical body, isn't it? Or health. It's actually your mental wellness that's going to be able to take all those nutrients and calories that, rather, all those important nutrients your body needs, to grow and to be able to perform well. And someone who's excelling, they're cheerful, you can see their joy, they're quite energetic when they're given a task. They're still energized even at the end of the day. Their performance looks good, and they're working towards realizing their potential. Maybe they're even on self-actualization. So this is just a graph to help us, look, what exactly does it mean when I say that your mental wellness is in a crisis? And this is important, I believe, for us to have this gauge. So maybe you have lost someone dear. It's very possible that even when you are excelling, you could easily go back to crisis. And that's why we need to thrive in a community. Because when you're in a community, then you have people who are holding you steady. Imagine if you knew this one person who's always in crisis. Eventually you avoid them. But when you're in a community, then people know, I know, if you've met Ruth and she's not smiling, she's not looking energetic, her performance has been affected, surely you're not going to judge me as my boss. You're actually going to sit me maybe a one-on-one, probably even outside office, and ask me, what has been going on? I've noticed your deliverables are not being met. You seem to really be anxious. Your mood, you're so withdrawn, what's going on? So this is also meant to help us as founders to be able to assess who is on your team. So this is for you also, and also for the people that you're leading. If you can quickly just take even 30 seconds and reflect, if you can pick 2-3 people, try to gauge them in this spectrum. Where do you think they are? Are they surviving? Are they in a crisis? And what can you do to help them to maybe transition to the next level? So allow me to move. I'm seeing time is really moving. So this continuum keeps getting hotter. It's a mental health thermometer, yeah, where someone who is ill, the signs are just in there. We talked about mental wellness, but here we are on the opposite side of this continuum. Someone who's constantly angry, they're a bit aggressive, they're depressed, with borderline getting to suicidal thoughts. Actually, maybe let me even mention a disclaimer. I am not a therapist. I have not been trained in this area where we can handle this, but I do work with a partner, ICFC, Dr. Evers. And whenever I've had clients then who need that level of support, even for families and children, I know where my line ends. So right now I'm wearing my hat as a coach and mentor. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a psychologist. And whenever we have seen an employee struggling in that place, then I'm able to call upon Dr. Evers, and she's able to take our person through the journey to wellness. So the person who's ill, they can't fall asleep, or they can't even stay asleep. They're not going out. Sometimes they just even switch off their phones, or they call. They're seeing who's calling. No one is speaking. Do we know such person today? I'm not saying that, from today's course now we are able to diagnose people who are ill, but this could just be signs and symptoms. So we can be kind, we can be gracious when we find that our team members or someone, a family member, even a neighbor is going through this, and someone who's injured, they're angry, they're anxious, and sometimes they just have this body aches that won't go away. The fatigue is increased. They're avoiding people, they're withdrawn, and they start even abusing alcohol or even gambling. They want to make quick money. Something within them is broken. They're trying to find anything that could fix them. And someone who's also moving away, they're not so ill. They've moved probably from injured. They're now reacting. They're irritable, they're nervous, they're sad. Sometimes even they have nightmares, they have low energy, and they're forgetting things. Yeah, this maybe may not count for some other people who either have a different illness, but forgetfulness is a big sign of mental illness. And then people who are healthy, they have normal mood fluctuations. Like if you tell me right now someone has passed away, I would not be laughing or smiling. That also is a sign of mental wellness. But if you told someone that someone died and they don't seem to have the normal mood fluctuation, then there's going to be something in there you want to dig deeper. They're calm, they're taking things in good stride, they have a good sense of humor, they're in control. They have normal sleep patterns. Of course, once in a while, they're falling off the wagon, but they have few sleep difficulties. And they look physically well. Their energy levels are good. They're socially active. And whatever it is they consider as a fun activity, it is in regulation. So they're not engaging in promiscuous activities or excessive use of alcohol or gambling. And yeah, so that's just to help us assess signs of mental illness and signs of mental wellness. I hope this does help. I found this bucket to also be quite interesting, that whereas we keep looking for things that fill our bucket, there's also stress buckets. I call them the energy vampires. And they vary depending on what you're going through. Sometimes it's just a poor diet, you're worried what's going on with your business or at work, you have the financial pressures, the lack of sleep, or you have family challenges, your health concerns, or someone even in your family is unwell, you have a parent, a child who you're nursing, and all these things can leave you feeling overwhelmed and your stress bucket is full. What do you do at that point in time? Even by the time you go to bed, you're literally, you black out if you're lucky to even find the sleep, and you stay awake and continue the next day. So it's the self-awareness I'm talking about is the one that will help you identify what are those stress buckets you're walking around with. Yeah. Because those stress buckets lead to unhelpful coping mechanisms. That's where someone who normally would not have been drinking or smoking or even doing drugs, they're trying to look for a vent. So even when you've identified your stress bucket, where do you get these vents where you can start practicing the mindfulness? I showed you one exercise of breathing. It looks quite simple, but you can go check on YouTube. There are many more deeper breathing exercises. Maybe it's music, maybe it's relaxing. Someone told me for them, they just sleep. Someone else told me they just want to go out into the nature. What is that you consider as mindfulness, as a way to sort of reduce this stress? Because this stress bucket, is it possible for it to totally disappear from our lives? So sometimes when you've had the financial pressure, then you find there's a constraint in the family. One issue is fixed, there's another hole on the other side. But we can be able to focus on what we call the good management practices that can help preserve your mental wellness. So it starts even with the good time management. How do you manage your time from when you wake up? How do you show up? Because how you show up is as important as the goals that you're working on. So for instance, how do you prioritize work? Do you have tools that help you guide how to manage your tasks, for instance? This now feels like another discussion that I normally hold for employees on good time management. And I usually start by saying time management sometimes is a hoax. We all have limited time, but we can prioritize our tasks based on what is important. So what are those practices you have? That's another training, Coach Samuel, that's loading, where I can come and teach you guys how to prioritize your tasks, maybe based on what is urgent, what is important, and how then that affects your mental well-being. Who are you talking to? Who's within your inner circle? Who are the people you tell them that, you know what, Coach Samuel, I am not okay. I am struggling. And I have been struggling maybe for the last 2-3 weeks, months, years. Who's within that circle that you can trust? And if there's no one, then are you willing to go even and sit with a therapist, a psychologist, or someone who will be able to listen to you? Don't leave those energy vampires within you, whatever it is that is taking away your joy and peace. Can you also take it to the Lord in prayer? But again, we are social beings. There's going to be a time where you need that human touch. You need someone to look at you and tell you, you are going to be well. You're doing fine. Let's even go for a walk. Let's take a walk down the road for us to be able to dissect this. Then are you taking time for the things you enjoy? These are some of the ways you can be able to, poke holes. This is a cheat sheet. Whereas there's a lot of pressure on you filling your bucket with all these positive things, that's a harder bucket. But we can look at what's already stressing you. So let's start reducing it and be able to know that sometimes even the energy vampires are represented as people. So probably you're going to have to delete some numbers or block them. There's going to be places you stop going to. Anything that's not feeding to your soul, it's taking away from you. And same way as we show up for life, if you're not adding life, you're actually draining life from people. So it goes both ways. As much as we expect that the people in our lives are also going to build us, are we showing up with a vibe and energy that's also adding life, or you're just adding more to people's stress buckets? So that's a point of reflection, and it's an area I also keep asking myself. Am I part of the stress bucket, or I'm part of, an energizer? I bring life to the people that I am meeting. So some more tips, they can be external on how you can on how you can empty your stress buckets. And some of this, it's good also for you to know what those causes or triggers are. Externally, relationship difficulties, financial, sometimes even being too busy, you don't have time for yourself. I found myself in that place recently, and I had to relook at my calendar and say, if I don't take 2-3 days to actually catch myself, I'll get to a place where I'll be the one needing this mental wellness training, because I now know where my threshold is. I've taken on a lot in a very short time. And now I know that if I continue this way, I'll not be able to have a successful June. So you need to love yourself enough to know that I need time for myself to be able to fill that bucket. And for us to be able also to know internally, you need to assess what is that uncertainty that you're battling, or is it some sort of pessimism? Where is it coming from? Sometimes it's just you and your journal, just you and your Bible, maybe you and just the lake. You need to always tap into your head, not to get stuck in there, but find out what is that negative self-talk you've always told yourself. Because sometimes those self-limiting beliefs are the ones causing that issue. That constant obsession with the issue that will not go away. And I believe the God we serve also wants to take away this burden from us, but we cannot do it if we've not been able to understand what is going on internally within ourselves. So then what can just do? I may not be able to get to all the, what they can, or if you're a founder, or if there's someone who reports to you, you're a parent, there's going to be a place where you're in charge of somebody else's mental wellness. So if someone is ill, be able to respect their confidentiality. I believe this is a big chunk why we HR people sometimes are not trusted, or we are also the reason why people trust us. So who is in that corner where we are saying that the leaders are creating a psychologically safe environment for the people that you're leading? It could also be in a family, you as the head of the home. Are you creating an environment where your family can thrive? Your children, when they have challenges, they can actually come and tell you, you know what, this is happening, or this happened in school, or this is what I am feeling. And how then do you, respect the confidentiality that comes? For instance, if you're in a workplace, I don't want to be able to come tell you my issue today, and tomorrow I'm finding it there on the notice board. People are discussing it in the cafeteria. And for those that has happened, I'm here actually to say we are so sorry, because these things do happen in workplaces. I have seen where what would have been a confidential discussion between a team member and a manager, even before they left to go for lunch, it was already there, and we're wondering, how did that get? The era of telephone, yeah? So let's be able to minimize rumors, because sometimes these rumors can really hold people down. Just because you've had something happen doesn't mean it really happened. So we can respect those boundaries, those who are in charge of people's records. Let's be able to safeguard that, and push people also to seek consultation where it's needed. And for people who, rather for managers, the people who are healthy today, tomorrow they could end up being the people who are ill. So how can we safeguard them, their mental wellness? Because as a founder or as an employer, you can end up being the one who's filling someone's stress bucket. But your main job here will be emptying the stress bucket. So let's lead by example. I had said for you as a founder, you're in charge of your own well-being. Your employees are not. The people around you are not. You are. So get to know employees. Because through, those small conversations at the water dispenser, those conversations as you guys are living, or even whatever space you can get to know people. You'll be shocked what people are actually going to tell you, and how much more you can become the person who empties other people's buckets. we can then be able to foster a healthy climate. That's why I'm here talking to a critical mass of people who hopefully, the more we create psychologically safe environments, both at home, in our workplaces, in the business spaces, wherever it is we have been called to influence, then we can have employees who are more healthy and especially mentally healthy. Whenever you see a problem, be able to resolve it early. In fact, for me, where I work, the leadership team, I always hold them accountable. How I know you're a good manager, if you're not having the one-on-one with your team members, I really get concerned. When do you sit down to talk to your employees, the people that you're leading, and be able to have genuine conversations? So keep providing those opportunities for you and your employees, or for you as a founder. Who do you talk to? Maybe you're having people who you report to, whether it's a board or if it's just you by yourself. Who can you see? Feel free to reach out to a coach like us, Coach Ruthie, Coach Samuel. We're here to be able to discuss those areas where you can improve upon making a healthy environment. So if you're here as a founder, you're here as an employer, it's your main job to be able to create that healthy environment. Or also if you're here as a parent, a mother, a father, it's your job to create a healthy environment for your children to thrive in. So some tips here that I was thinking about, as we talk about the mental wellness, the mental illness, we need to start with focusing on what we can control. I love this quote that says, when you can't control what's happening, challenge yourself to control the way you respond to what's happening. That's where your power is. I'll keep tapping onto the COVID example because at that point in time, we did not have control of what was happening around us. We didn't have control when we were shut down and told, stay home, do nothing, don't move. But we kept challenging ourselves to look within and be able to see that in due time, some people lost the fight. We lost people that we loved. But you who is strong, I'm sure you kept looking within you and tapping within that power. And that's why we are able to have this conversation today. And as we talk about the focus on what we can control, I love this image by Stephen Covey that talks a lot about what is within your control. If you see what you can control is really a very small part of what is happening around us. And I love that it's at the center, like the earth, it's the core, it's who you are. The circle of control is what you can control directly. Only you can control, for instance, your own goals. Only you can control your thoughts. I'm not in your head. I'm not in my child's head, but you can control the thoughts that you're having, the conversations you have in your head. That is something that is within your control. And as you move outside this circle, you see there's a circle of influence. These are concerns. We can do something about it. We keep complaining about the traffic jam. Oh, it has rained. Yes, we don't have much control about the rain, but sincerely, if we left home maybe an hour earlier, maybe, just maybe there's a higher chance of us getting to our destination earlier, as opposed to us saying, oh, now I'm just going to move out 10 or 15 minutes to time, yet you can see outside what's going on, especially with schools being open. So that becomes a circle of influence. So every day you can be able to tap into those areas or people or environments that you can create where you just have a small influence over those areas. And then the biggest part of our lives every day from when we wake up, oh my goodness, it's the circle of concern. We don't have control of influence. And the only thing we can do is just say the serenity prayer. Just, dear Father, help me to learn how to release. It's a wide range of concerns. Even the best performing employees, when USA said they're closing, that's what has happened. When they said we're shutting down office, that's what has happened. Someone who's lost a job right now, someone who has lost a client, they can go and look deep within and see what is within my circle of control. What can I control in this situation? Those are the conversations that are going to get you to a place of understanding that it's not so bad. It's not so bad. This is not the end. Even though you're in a crisis right now, you can still find portions of that crisis that is still within your control. So what can you do today for you to be able to identify those areas that you can control? What are those thoughts that you have that you know you need to get rid of, that are stopping you from moving forward? Thoughts of imposter syndrome. So if, for instance, you're constantly afraid that where you're at, you don't have what it takes to be in that office. You don't have what it takes to be a parent. Because sometimes even as a parent, I've also doubted myself. I've gotten into offices and asked myself, what am I doing here? This should be somebody else who's here. But that's negative self-talk. So for instance, if you're struggling with the imposter syndrome, where you feel like you don't belong, either because of competence or you doubt yourself or you're anxious, it's within your control then to say, okay, if there's a skill I don't have, can I commit myself and go learn this AI? I love talking to older ladies and they're saying, Ruth, where I've reached, this AI, it will either kill me or I go kill it. I'm glad she decided to go and kill it. So she signed up for a course. That was something that was within her control. She has no control of what is happening out there, whatever AI tools are being created. She has no control if tomorrow she'll have her job or not. But she has control of a skill, a competence she can go build right now. And you never know, she could be someone who even employs herself because that is within her control. So whenever you're struggling with all these decisions, indecisions, things all over the world, keep asking yourself, what is within my control? That's the only area of your life that you can control. And even God goes deep down and says, until you tap to my will, then my will always be done. So for those who believe in a higher power out there, there's also someone who has put us here. And within that circle of control, it's up to us then to keep taking it to God in prayer and asking him, what is your will? What is your will? Why have you put me in this place right now? Or what do you need me to do right now? A story is told of the man who sang, "It is well with my soul." The story, as much as the song sounds quite mellow, but he had lost everything in his life. But deep within, because his circle of control was locked in, he sang one of the best Christian songs, that it is well with my soul. Despite me having lost my daughters, my wife, I have lost everything, it is still well with my soul. Oh, sorry, I'm really passionate about that. So we can also remind ourselves that problems have a shelf life. Coach Samuel, are we still on?
Yes, we are still on.
Oh,
Thank you.
okay, it's so quiet.
We are
Oh my
following close.
goodness. You know, when the internet is off, it also gets quiet. So I was just making sure that my people are with me.
No,
How about when you have a problem? Thank you so
you're
much,
speaking
Coach.
to our hearts, so we are really attentive and trying to.
Okay. We
Yeah.
bless God. Thank you so much. Thank you, engaging audience. So if you're in a problem right now, you're in a crisis, you're still on survival mode, just know the problems have a shelf life. If it's still not okay, it's not yet the end. I know it sounds cliche, but I'm just one of those people. Whenever I introduce myself, I'm like, I'm resilient, Ruth. Like, bring it on, bring it on. Not because I'm attracting anything negative. It's bring it on, even the good things. Like, I have such a resilient spirit that even when I'm hard hit, like yesterday, I was really hard hit, where you feel, oh my goodness, what is this? But I had to, that self-talk. If there's negative self-talk, I just had to do the opposite of that negative self-talk. So I went in front of the mirror and told myself, Ruthie, your problem is not forever. If this is not okay, then it's not the end. And I was able to go shower and rest. And I woke up thinking, oh, wow, what was that last night? So just like Coach Ruthie, whatever problem you're going through right now, it has a shelf life and it's going to end. And even when you feel you're at the bottom, you're not alone. Your creator has not left you, because deep within is your spirit that is connected to him. So I'm here to encourage you that even that problem is going to go away. And let's learn also to live in the present. We have become beings who are constantly elsewhere. There's that joke of we're out eating, but everyone is on their phone. So who are they texting? They're texting people who are not there with them. And then when they meet those people, they're also eating and texting the people who they left the restaurant or who they were with in the restaurant. So it's quite interesting as beings. We have all these distractions around us, whether it's technology, we're chasing the money, we're chasing the big offices. Let's be able to be in the present moment. And the best way you can do is even remove your shoes sometimes. Wherever it is you're at, remove your shoes and ask yourself, am I grounded? Am I grounded? Are my feet really on the ground? And the best way also is when you look at the joy. When you look at a child in their eyes That's the power of being present, and how they just gaze and you're like, oh, wow, someone is holding the space for me. And the child starts holding you. They find you so beautiful. And that's the power of being present. And it's a big component of mental wellness. But our hearts, yes, are beating, our phones are beeping, everything is telling you, move on to the next thing, move on to the next thing. Notifications, we have alarms, we have things that keep prompting us. But learn to switch off those things and put them away and say, I'm going to be here present. I'm here for this training. So thank you so much, guys, for being present. And I hope no one is on their phone right now thinking, we have a few more minutes to end. No, be present. I'm actually staring at the camera because I'm very intentional. I'm being present right now. And it's a big part of mental wellness. So imagine we did that for every person we are meeting. You're a boss, you're talking to the people you lead, and you're looking at them in the eye. You're giving them life through your smile, not shouting, not reminding them of how, they done got it. How about tomorrow or Monday? Have a new speech for telling them, thank you guys for getting it. I got a message from my boss, and this evening it was in the group, and he was actually appreciating. And he said, please remember to have a good weekend. I was like, wow, it really re-energized me. And I was like, even as I'm swinging into this training, I'm going to have that positive energy because you already passed it on. I feel like he gave me that power. You pass it on. So are you passing it on? The wave will miss you if you're constantly distracted and you're not present in the moment. So I hope from today on, the areas of our lives we haven't been present, when you talk to your person, and talk to your children, and talk to your spouse, look them in the eye and tell them, I'm here. Put every gadget away. When you're in a meeting, don't be in your meeting and you're on the phone. Then go attend to the phone because you're on the phone, then you want to be in the meeting. Let's learn the power of being still. And sometimes catch yourself, especially early in the morning. If you want to catch yourself, what's the first thing you reach out for when you wake up? Others, it's their phone. Others, it's their phone. Most of us, it's our phone, right? I had to get rid of that habit. And if I'm using it as an alarm, then I put it so far away. So when you wake up, the very first thing you do, then that's who you've become. We're walking around, like drug addicts with our phones. Even when you go to the bathroom, you have your phone. You go to the kitchen, you have your phone. I've caught myself in those moments and said, no, it's now time for me to be here at home, be present with my family, and also be present with myself and my creator. Then we could also nurture positive attitude. Always end a day with a positive thought. I hope this training is going to be one of those spaces that no matter how hard this week was, there's someone who needs to be muted. No matter how hard your week has been, I know I've talked to a couple of guys, it's been the week. Parents who have children really are stretched, or whatever else has been a stretch for you, just know tomorrow there's going to be a fresh opportunity to make it better, to be present, and to practice the mental wellness tips and tricks that we are discussing today. And another thing could also be gratitude. What is in your gratitude jar? Do you have a gratitude jar where you drop all the things that you're grateful for? And if today nothing beautiful has happened, you could start with, oh, thank you, God, that there was a space we could come talk about how we can nurture a positive attitude. So there are many ways. There are many ways in which you can nurture a positive attitude. I just thought to highlight this because I find them quite... I have my gratitude jar, and like yesterday, that's what I went to. I don't keep it so far away. Actually, it's next to, like, if there's a pillow, then a side table for the bed, then there's a gratitude jar. So what are you dropping in there? What deposits did you make when you were thriving and excelling? Because then right now when you're in a crisis, you need to go and open that gratitude and remind yourself, oh God, thank you that you've given us life. Thank you for the gift of life. And some of us journal, so feel free to keep journaling. And those are all positive attitudes that will get you to the mental wellness. Because when you're grateful, it's altering your vibration. You're moving away from negative energy to what is positive. I keep saying our energies are like the radio. Yeah, we are praying, dear Father, I want wellness. I am sick. My body is dying. But you're not attuned mentally because your soul is not taken care of to receive from He who gives above. So gratitude is one way in which, you know how you tune that radio? This is me tuning it. Gratitude is a form for you to catch that frequency. Because the normal state of your body, first of all, is wellness. Our bodies were not created for disease. Our bodies were created for wellness. So when we are well, we're actually attuning the radio to the right frequency. So keep tapping to that frequency. And when deep down we are believing for something, we are believing God for a miracle, you will not be able to tap into it if your frequency is not right. So we have to be right in our mental wiring. So keep looking deep within your mental wellness. Sometimes why in the physical things are not manifesting is because they have not happened right within you. And remember, that's 90% of who we are. And that's where we're here today, to just be able to tap to that inner being in there who's crying out. Their dreams, there's a lot of potential there that is dying and screaming, let me out. But your frequency is not right. So if you've not tuned in, let's say you want to listen to Power FM or Capital FM, if you've not tuned to 88.2 for Sanyo FM, you will not get that frequency, even though you have the biggest radio. So who is tuning you, and how do you know how to tune? It's only God who can do that for you, or the higher power that you believe in. So be able to tap into that positive energy, because we all have it. As long as you were created, you're here on earth, your heart is beating, you have a chance to tap to that inner power within you. How about intentional self-care? This word has been thrown around everywhere. Self-care. When you go and spend, I don't know how much we're spending on nails and our hair, it's all self-care. Yeah, but yeah, there's also a self-care wheel. It's cutting across. It's not just salon for the ladies or the men. I see that self-care you guys are really on to nowadays. Yeah. So it's the physical self-care. This, when your mind is well, it pushes your body to move. Actually, if you find your body is not moving, that's not, you're not mentally well. Our bodies were created for movement. And that's why, just like the great rabbi said, let the children come to me. Children are exemplifying what true living is. You ask a child who is stressed. I've not met a child who is stressed. They wake up, they have so much energy. They want to go burn that energy. They're playing, they're swinging, they're screaming, they're laughing. They have, oh gosh, I hope we can continue on that streak where we are so intentional in knowing that this personal self-care, it will only come back to affect me. So let's start with the mental self-care. And this is part of it where we are here talking about how we can do this. How about your spiritual self-care? What are those practices, habits that you have stopped doing? I know mine. I had stopped reading the Bible as often as I would. I think I would only read it whenever, okay, I need to. Then you get onto it 5 days, then from there you're like, okay, I'll remember the verses. But I noticed the days I am consistent with getting into the word, for instance, my soul was so fed. The minute or the week I'm not, or the day I'm not listening to that inspirational music, I notice my energy is so drained. But if I'm going to work or I'm moving around and I have my very positive music that's inspiring, that's adding life, it feeds into my spirit. So ask yourself, what's feeding your spirit? Even professionally, why are we stuck in spaces that we believe are toxic? Why in that job today? Yes, I know you want to pay your bills, but what is within you that you can tap in there for you to either turn that environment you're in or even move away from it? Because sometimes the environments we're in don't allow us to be able to attune to that frequency that God has called us to. How about your emotional self-care? How are you managing your relationships, for instance? Both your friends, your romantic relationships, because even with your children, your spouse, all those are things which come back and affect us. Yeah. So the self-care wheel is just not the physical things we're saying. Oh, let me go on that trip with the girls. Yeah, it's all good. But the biggest chunk is the mental wellness, the emotional care, the spiritual care, and everything else that you're doing, to make a living, to make that back. So you can't pour from an empty cup. You're a wholesome being. Actually, the full definition of health is beyond physical health. It incorporates all these areas of your life. And you will notice that is affected then if you're not connected. You will not be able to tap fully into your mental wellness if you're constantly isolated. And connection here does not mean that you're constantly on your phone, no. Relationships, rather, life-giving relationships is what we need to be pursuing right now. Remember, we talked about energy vampires? Please be able to create a list of your energy vampires. Who are the 2-3 people in this coming month of June you need to honestly stop meeting? Whether it's a boss or a friendship that has gone wrong, or just things you have outgrown or they're not serving your purpose anymore. How about empathy? Even when you're present, are you showing empathy? Are you walking in other people's shoes and trying to understand where everyone is at? And it's not just about even meeting online, like what we are doing here on a call. So go out and meet people. I was telling a friend today, we are forgetting how to visit our friends anymore. And I told her, we have been friends for 2-3 years and we have not visited your parents. So could we make that trip? Thank God they don't stay so far away, but we want to go and meet the parents. I believe those are things our parents did, and they created such deep bonds. So I hope today we can stay connected and not just on phone or on online through the internet. Go meet another human being. If you're the kind who's been isolated, just give yourself a goal that this weekend I'm going to meet at least one human being and find out how they are. So always remember, positive energy is contagious. Like now when I smile into the camera, there's people who are feeling that energy. But if I came to train, I am not smiling, I'm not giving you any good vibe, then it becomes negative energy, which also you pick on it. Look at a child. The minute you fold your face and you start crying, they start crying. So it's the same thing as us. Only us have the power to transmit or the power to choose the energy we want to transmit. And sometimes we work so hard, the grind is really so hard. And man, we were talking about finance with some other friends yesterday, and we're like, people who pinch pennies. Yes, we are all of us here and there. We want to make a saving. We want to be able to invest. And sometimes we forget to celebrate that we've actually, brought a trophy home. Maybe you have a new promotion, a new job, or maybe when there's a skill you were able to accumulate. These are all things which add to your mental wellness. And sometimes when you're a founder, an employee, you can show some appreciation through the words you speak every morning. Learn to thank yourself first. I do this every night, by the way, like, well done. Even yesterday when the day was just giving me, I'm able to tell myself, well done, Ruth. Then in that way, I'm able to tell my helper, my children, and everyone else I'm meeting, well done, you did well. I know you gave your best, because no one wakes up to actually lose. Everyone is waking up to do their best. So we can appreciate someone. Reward not just yourself, but even those who have done well. Reward the people who are keeping it healthy for you. Even you as an employee, if you have a healthy boss, please, this month of June, buy them something. Doesn't need to be small. Maybe even it's just you saying, thank you. Thank you, my founder. Thank you, my employer. Thank you, my colleague. Thank you, Jane. Thank you, John, for keeping it healthy in the workplace. We can celebrate the people who are making it real for us. And of course, recognize how having healthy environments are going to build us to, succeed and win in life. So as we get to the end of our discussion, I wanted us to look at something. I came across the journey of life. It's called the Wheel of Life. Sorry, because of time, I wanted to share a blank one so we can be able to assess ourselves. But I think we can do it in 2 minutes. We can draw a big circle. Draw a big circle. And feel free, you don't need to limit yourself to this area, but these 8 areas have been known to, be the main areas that determine other spheres of our lives. So for instance, the Wheel of Life is assessing how healthy your finances are. If you look at inside the circle, it has those, do we call them rings? And in each one is a layer. So the one that is down here is a 1, and it goes all the way to 10. So if you've drawn your big circle, be able to divide it into 8 sections, just how people eat pizza or how you divide the pizza. And you can feel free to come and add whichever area of your life that you feel is quite important. So on finances, you can rate yourself as of today. This was mine. This was something I had pulled out from a presentation. So when you find corners so sharp, or this diagram is less of circular, it means there's some areas that there's a lot of work to be done. And the Wheel of Life keeps changing, of course, depending on where you're at in terms of your mental wellness. So if you're in a crisis, definitely you're going to find, for instance, your rating of health is going to be a bit low. So 1 is the lowest, meaning your finances are doing so badly, you don't have an income, or you have an income, you're heavily indebted. So feel free to give yourself a score and put up an indicator there. So this person had given themselves an 8. Maybe next time I'll find one that's a bit more neutral. And on health, here, feel free, if you're at a place where you're able to even divide it into physical health, mental wellness, but where are you at generally in health? And how about your family and friends? Are you in a happy place with them? Are you talking to the people you're meant to be talking to and relating to, like your family, your mother, your father, your siblings? all of that. How about your romantic relationships? Where are you at? There are people who are looking forward to being married this year. You know how girls, sometimes I'm told even men have their goals. By end of this year, I'll be married, but they have no girlfriend. But where are you at in terms of your romance? And not just even for those who are dating, but even those who are married, because these are essential parts of our lives. If your romance is, we didn't have 0 there, but if it's on a 1 or a 2, you're going to struggle with your health. It's going to affect your mental well-being. How about your personal development? We're in an era of a lot of knowledge, like we're here. This is a free course. We're willing to invest in so we can grow. I recently started playing the guitar and drawing, and I'm like, wow, this is super amazing, because we've been sometimes so caught up with motherhood and all these things with work and business, all these things that take away our own focus, our own ability to tap within and ask ourselves, what can I do to keep Ruthie healthy? And one of them, I found out that I had stopped doing the things that really made me happy. So I promised myself every day I'm going to either, even though it's to just strum even 2-3 minutes. I found my old book of chords. I want to go back now tonight. I'm so excited, and just be able to strum a few more. And it's bringing happiness and joy that even yesterday I was able to strum myself to harmony, because that's what frequencies do. So please find what in your space is fun and can pull you back to life. How about your contribution to society? We become a generation that's living for ourselves. But I keep saying no. Every day in life, we're showing up for the audience of one. The audience of one is watching us at any point in life. And the blessings he's bringing to us, they're not for ourselves. So we need to be able to make a significant contribution for society. So don't wake up to make money so I can be rich, and that's it. You will die like every other person who came. But make a significant contribution. Go to that children's home. Go mentor someone. Reach out to that young cousin who has no mentor, or that child who has no mother or a father, and find what more can we make life more meaningful. And the times you have gone out even and helped those people on the street, I've seen someone even sweeping for their neighbor. Do those acts of kindness. They make you be a nicer human being. And even when you've hit rock bottom, it brings you back to a place of, I'm still valuable. So what are those areas you can contribute to society? And how about your business? And also your career? Feel free to rate. That's going to be your reflection tool. I'll send it also to see it. But the Wheel of Life is something that has changed my life. For me, I do it quarterly. I want to be able to catch myself before it's gone too far. I don't know whether it's realistic to do it on a weekly basis, but generally I have this at the back of my mind, that I want to know that these areas are very important to me, and I want to be able to make sure that I'm working towards a journey. So this becomes also my area of improvement. It becomes a place I can draw my vision board from, because I can see that, for instance, in my career, not yet at the 9 I had hoped to be, but we have the rest of 2025 to get to those dreams that we have. So as we close, who do you need to become in order to win? Because in the end, we all want to win in whichever sphere we are in. And winning here is not that they are losers. Winning here is you being able to focus on the goals that you've set, your purpose, to live that which God placed you on earth for. Because if today you're not waking up to draw, there's a beautiful painting here, but it's not even a painting. Someone made this. I'm just using it for, as something to drive the point home. If this person didn't wake up to do what he does, he's just using banana fiber to be able to create these amazing wall pieces, I would not have this painting here, right? So if you don't wake up to do that which God has put in your heart, probably I'll be able to do something, but it will not be this neat. And that's why I don't wake up to do this. But if I don't wake up today to do what I do, for instance, if I didn't wake up to prepare myself to be here today, then there will be no person talking about employee and founder wellness, right? So who do you need to become then to win? There's a preparation behind it. And if you wake up every day to chase that, then you'll be able to find more meaning in your life. And what energy are you bringing to life? This is just an open evaluation. You can even ask your friends, your colleagues, what kind of energy, how do I make you feel when you see me? When I show up, who do you see? And how are you managing your private life? Because sometimes there are things happening in the background. You know how Avengers, they come out and there's all this smoke and things jumping in the background. it's possible that you have a private life or your personal life being quite messy, but how are you managing it? Because how you show up, how you're showing up with, managing that part of your life is going to affect your mental wellness. So be able to keep analyzing, for instance, what are those things that are triggering? What are those areas I'm not doing so well? Maybe it's a partner you're not talking to or a parent you've not reached out to them, but it's affecting your mental wellness. That thought you're constantly obsessing about, be able to write it about and create some action points on how you can be able to overcome that. And not every thought we have in our minds is correct, because sometimes we live in our minds. Not every thought we think about is true. So when you have increased self-awareness, you'll be able to tell that thought, you're not correct, you're not true, this is not who I am, and you'll be able to kick it. And then how can you then better manage your finances? Because finance has, out of research, it has come out as a trigger point, one of the biggest trigger points, especially for people who are basically even the ones who don't have families, but it's become a big trigger point on, stress management. So imagine if you could manage your finances, and it's not just finances, if you could manage your career better, if you could manage your spiritual life better, then it will help you be able to win in life. So as I said, at some point, I'm not a therapist, I'm not a counseling. There's going to be times where some symptoms are beyond a coaching session. It's beyond a workshop. Let's learn. It's okay to get professional advice. It's okay for you to sign up and say, I am not okay, and it's okay to not be okay. As much as there's a stigma around it, there are benefits of having this psychotherapy counseling. I know personally I have benefited where I have sat at the feet of Dr. Evers, and she has challenged my thinking, even as a coach, to look inwardly using, of course, a different methodologies, because what we use in coaching is quite different with what the psychotherapists do and the counseling. So the therapy services are available. I mentioned ICFC. They are based in Tinder. And if you need a number, feel free. I can be able to drop you. I can pass a number to Coach Samuel for those who need the clinical counseling. Badili may not be able to do that, but we have a partner we're working with, because at the end of the day, all these challenges are coming to our desk as HR people. And it's our job then to take care of the people God has blessed us with. So all these are things we've talked about, the tips of the workplace and mental well-being. Let's be people who are creating awareness for staff and leadership. The policies should be there actually that support the mental well-being. Nothing is going to move if it's not on policy. So as much as you as a founder, you love people, you want people to feel psychologically safe, but be able to define what you believe about your mental well-being. And it's your job then also as an employee. If these are not in your place, you can challenge or be one also to inform your management that it's good that they come up with an awareness and a safe space where employees can talk about these things. Yeah. And also internally, both even on the family level, in the workplace, what are those conflict management systems we have? Because these are things which are causing workplaces to really be toxic. So I know I've interviewed people who have asked me, how is the culture of this place? And the first thing I've tapped into then is to be able to define to them what our values are. So if our values are, for instance, we value our people, then there should be a conflict management system to support that value. So we can keep challenging our management, we can collaborate with them for us to be able to create a psychologically safe space. And it's also okay for your team. I've seen the companies, for instance, the corporates that are signed up on insurance. I've seen therapy services being part of the insurance offering. So ask yourself also as a founder, is there an insurance policy that you can tap into that offers these therapy services, or how much does it cost? Maybe what are the minimum number of sessions that you need for you to be able to, tap into a deeper mental well-being. So just a minute. So we are nearly at our end. I just wanted to do a quick recap. We spoke about the energy vampires. We spoke about the stress buckets. We went through some tips on how we can empty our stress buckets. I hope you guys enjoyed the breathing exercise. And for those of us in business or who are in business spaces, it's good for us also to look at the 5 E's of doing business. You want to start a business that's solving problems, because sometimes we are caught up in doing things that are just really for ourselves. So entrepreneurship is a pathway for you to make that meaningful contribution. So ask yourself, the business you're going into, is it going to make a significant contribution to the society or the community that you're living in? And then also as employees, also as founders, we spoke about us going back and having a growth mindset. When we constantly challenge ourselves to continuously learn, then we're at a place where our minds are also growing, even those games and everything else we talked about. Then in the game of business, we have ethics. Integrity is your long game. Sometimes we are struggling with decisions. We are faced with decisions that are going to test what we believe in, our value system. So keep tapping also and asking yourself, what are those values you stand for? What are those values you're not willing to compromise for you to continue staying in business? Because sometimes in compromising those values, when our ethics have been compromised, it has ended up affecting our mental well-being. We've also talked about the environment. What are those spaces we are showing up to, because they affect the frequency that we get at the end of the day? And then who are the people in our lives who we are evangelizing to? Who are the people who are related maybe in similar values or principles that we can keep also sharing these discussions with? We've also been able to do the wheel of life assessment. I hope that was fun. And as I mentioned, you can always feel free to add other areas that you feel need attention. So mental wellness starts with awareness, and the wheel has shown us that our energy needs to be realigned. So whenever you feel one area is not balanced, keep going back to the wheel of life assessment and see. When you know what you're up against, then you'll be able to solve it. Because sometimes I have people who show up on my desk and they're saying, I'm just not feeling well. And we want to have deeper conversations and go, what area of your life or what area of your mental well-being is affected? And I believe this has been one of those areas. Then someone will go, oh, wait, I was actually not sick. Probably I was just having maybe like an imposter syndrome. So thank you so much, HR or coach, for signing me up on that course. I feel now more equipped to go and do that presentation, maybe to management. So the floor is open for questions. I would like to know what resonated most with us today and what support are we going to seek out of this one place. And just as a final reflection, I also wanted to know what is one commitment you are making for your mental wellness, whether you're a founder or an employee. So thank you so much. I'll take the mic back to Coach Sam for the questions.
All right, thank you so much, Coach Ruth. How do you feel? How are you feeling?
Is that for me or for them?
For you.
I'm still energized. I could go on, but people have to go and connect with their loved ones. So their friends and, on the wheel of life can rate highly. But thank you so much. This was beautiful. And I'm hoping someone took out something, even as we end the Mental Health Awareness Month, turning awareness into action. Yeah.
Yeah, the reason why I asked is every time I'm done with a session, I feel so different. And I think it comes from sometimes when when you're doing something that you're so passionate about, something that you really feel at heart, you bring your energy, you bring your passion into it. Sometimes even the things that you were thinking about in the process, all that we are stressing, you sometimes go, and it's really amazing how that really happens. And I think for me, when I write, journaling, writing is one of my we call it stress relievers, whatever it could be. Getting down to something of your passion, I think helps you to get yourself back into shape. So thank you so much. And I'm glad we had the session. So we have some quite number of questions and comments coming through here. And most of them are really thanking you for the session. Maybe I would just want to hint on some of the questions. And I think some of them could be related. But there's a question here, which is more how can somebody be able to go challenge on mental health, especially to manage
Sorry, Coach Summer, is that my
I don't know if
connection or
you've
yours?
gotten that question. So it's
No,
more
no,
how you
no.
feel to others. I think it could be my
Sorry.
connection. Are you
Yeah,
able to hear
it could be.
me?
Yes, please take it from the top.
Okay. Yeah, so there's a question here which says, imagine an environment where if you're not there, you're assigned tasks on hold, you're requested to leave, and you're requested for leave and only granted the day probably due to illness, but it's not your choice. 2 days, and then you take a step to communicate, then you return to work only to realize that your communication is seen as intentionally delaying the tasks by management. How do you start a conversation about mental health or to management? So that's a question coming through. I hope you've gotten it. And
Yes, I have.
there was a question. There was a question as well. I think you could take it together. I don't know if okay. Some people are asking for slides. I don't know if you can be able to provide that. And then one of the questions says, how can startups maintain a wellness-focused culture as they scale? That's one of the other questions. I know there's a hand up. I don't know. Do you want to answer those and then, or you want to take on the question such that you can provide answers at once?
Okay, I can take the hands so I can answer them all at once.
Otherwise, thank you so much, everyone, for the comments coming through. Okay, please, Brian, coming through with your question. And we will also be able to share, please, Coach Ruth's contacts. You can be able to find her on LinkedIn. Brian, could you unmute? Okay, Brian's hand was up. I don't know if you wanted to ask a question. Maybe we can be able to have him later on. I don't know if he has a challenge with speaking. So his hand is down. So you can answer those for
Okay.
now. Yeah.
All right. Okay. I hope I captured the heart of what the person was asking about leave and being able to have the mental health talk. I believe it starts also with what the organization stands for. It's not every organization that has been able to streamline this conversation around mental wellness. Sometimes also it's who those leaders are in those spaces. I've noticed the corporates are embracing mental wellness faster than the less structured spaces, the startups that are mean every day. So it's quite a gamble in there, and I don't know what environment she's coming from. So sometimes she can first of all assess, is it the spaces that she's in? If she's in a corporate environment, by and large, most of these have policies around here. What constitutes a mental health break? What should not? And it's a conversation she can initially have with the HR in place if there's one. But if she's in an unstructured environment, this is going to really be a tough one. It's a tough one when you're trying to communicate a thing only you can see, and the people on the other end just, you know what you do to a sponge? They just want to squeeze the productivity out of employees until even the last drop tweak. Saturday morning, you find an email when you should be relaxing and enjoying time with your family. So if she's in that kind of a place, then sometimes some spaces, if it's something that's leading you to not fully function, you're going to have to walk away. Because if they don't think that you as a human being need rest, then it's quite a challenge. How do you explain, what is a common need? But I know, yes, jobs right now are really hard to find. It's not every space you wake up every day and catch yourself. But when was it? I think the day before yesterday, we were so busy, like everyone went, grabbed their lunch. We came, sat down with our lunch, and we asked ourselves after the lunch, why are we feeling funny? And I said, you know what, guys, I think we need to get out. So we went on the road and started walking. And it's quite interesting that we even found someone who we knew while walking and we're like, oh, wow, why do we close ourselves in there? So sometimes just walk around. Like, it may not be a full leave you need. Sometimes just a few minutes, a few moments of you walking and making something clear. Sometimes it's in you leaving work really on time and saying, today I'm actually going to sleep on time, if it's rest that you need. So try to find those small pockets of what does leave look like. It may not be possible that every time an employer is going to give you leave. Yes, by law, they're supposed to give you your 21 working days, but we know how it can be when we're working in the startup environment, or maybe when you're a business owner. So maybe if you can, could someone give you my number? We can talk a little with you, even on chat, and I'd be able to map out what kind of an environment would be. I would need to understand beyond, so I don't give a cut and paste solution. But thank you so much for the question. Yes, sometimes we need those breaks. We may not be able to give ourselves permission to go on leave. Maybe they're saying, no, you can't leave right now. But it's up to us then to own that space we call our mental wellness, and keep finding what are those things you can do. If you need to switch off your phone, if maybe you work in a very busy place and say, no, after work, I want to be able to go rest. I don't think you're committing a crime where you're taking care of yourself. Yeah. Then for the slides, I'll be able to give Coach just a few. I may not give you the full, there's also intellectual property and all that, but probably I'll pick a few things maybe that have the wheel of life, just a summary, and then we can be able to use some of those tools to assess ourselves. Then the question around how we can set up a wellness-focused culture for startups. It's something I'm also figuring out right now as we are moving, because the space where I wake up to every day is a startup. We're working with founders, and every day we are seeing how we can build businesses that represent our values. So I believe it starts, culture. The fabric of any organization is the culture, and the culture is hinged on the values that you guys, those beautiful values people print on the walls, or they're maybe in your strategic document. How can you live out those values every day? So I've seen people bringing out those values during the meetings. So for instance, if you believe we are customer obsessed, why don't we make this week be a week where we show our customers that we are obsessed about them? And how about you take on that challenge and know that your customers are, first of all, your employees. So you can't be preaching externally, yet your people inside are dying. So if you're going to treat the customers out there, start by treating your employees in there. So living your values, I believe, is one way, because you've already mapped out that by the time you say, I've set up an organization, you've really thought about the values that are going to take you till, you have reached closer to your vision. And then, of course, being able to hire people who are like-minded. I keep saying we're so fixated sometimes on the papers, which is, yes, what we do, what we need to be looking at. But how about we start hiring for values? How about the clarity that we need is, who are we as an organization? What are we representing? What do we want to be remembered for in the next 50 years, not even 5 years? When all this is done, when we are dead, and I don't know, our children's children have taken the organizations. I already have my CEO and COO for Badili. When this is done, what is left, when we are no longer around, it's going to be the impact we have created. It's in how we have made people feel. It's in how we've engaged with people. And I'm so happy to see some of the people on the call that there are people I've engaged with in different workspaces. So I'm so happy to know that that's a culture we've set up, that whenever we are showing up, we are being true with the people we are bringing in, and especially the leadership team, the people you call the leaders, the guys who have been entrusted with the vision of the organization. So if you as the leader have been able to cascade your vision, it should include not just your leaders, but also the rest of the people. So how do you cast your vision in, in a way that people can see you're living the true meaning of those values? So sometimes those cute things you have in your deck, they're not meant to stay there. They're meant to be lived. So live your values, live your vision, and wake up every day to show people that, you know what, guys, you're my best people. You're my best team. You're my A team. I don't have a plan B. Actually, you're the plan. I don't have another plan. You're the plan. And from there, you find people are more engaged. I keep saying, like, my day job where I show up, I'm working for the greater good. So whether someone will say, hey, I'm also showing up for my boss, because we have that personal relationship that has helped us keep each other accountable. We have our regular one-on-ones. It's part of our culture. And I love also what happens in those one-on-ones. So if you remember, those who were in the training, in this workshop earlier, I mentioned one of the biggest signs of leadership is how are you showing up for your people? If you're not showing up to create that psychologically safe environment, then you're failing your team. And in those one-on-ones, you'll be able to have those conversations that don't need to be mentioned in the town hall. That you're there embarrassing people and thinking, oh my goodness. But in the one-on-ones, you can tell. I don't know if Christian is still on the call. Christian, you need maybe, what are those areas you're struggling with? The one-on-ones are safe spaces. It's not a space to come bash the people that you're leading. It's actually a safe space. And one of the interesting questions I've had someone ask me in one of those one-on-ones is, what have you failed at this week? Because at that point in time, you feel so dejected. But the last question is, how can I support you? So that's an example of how a positively, curated startup feels like. It feels like home. It feels like we're not coming to work. It feels like we're coming to do something bigger than ourselves. So if this something is bigger than myself, when I don't show up, there's going to be a founder who misses to build a business just because my mental health is not where I need it to be. So I constantly have to also exercise. Remember where the brain had that weight it was pushing? The resilience has been built by reminding myself of my why. So for that startup, keep tapping into your why. And that's the mission. Why does your business exist? So every day, if you can preach that to the corridor, you'll be like that man who was sweeping the floor and saying, hey, what do you do, boss? Here, he's a janitor, but he's saying, I'm taking the first man to the moon. I'm taking the first man to the moon. So I hope for that and more, we'll be able to keep talking about the startups and how a positive culture then can create a psychologically safe space for employees to flourish and succeed. Back to you, Coach.
All right. Thank you so much. And thank you so much, all participants. I see good remarks coming in here. They're saying thank you so much for the session. I think it's an important session, and mental health is not just for this period as we do the mental health month. It's also an important aspect. I like how you say that you go through the wheels of life on a monthly basis. I think that is something that I feel we need to adopt. I like the jar, and quite a number of people here. I've been doing gratitude kind of sessions, but I think the jar, I hadn't jumped on that. I think it's something that I need to just get into, and I think it's very, very great. Rita, your hand is up. Do you want to ask a question? So we do not leave you out as we conclude. Otherwise, appreciate it for coming through. Yes, Rita.
Yes, thank you, Coach Samuel. Thank you, Coach Ruth. Just inquiring if, as in of under assessment of health, the healthy situation of someone. You talked about the excelling situation where someone is excelling, then thriving. Can someone in a crisis situation be saved? And if so, how long would it take? Thank you.
Sorry, what's the question? I was left at understanding the continuum. Sorry, help me again. Yes.
My inquiry is, can someone in a crisis situation be saved? And if so, how long can they be helped to get to the excelling level?
Okay, I get it. And yeah, it's actually a really good question. And that's why we said, if you know such person and you have done your very best with what is a normal support system, because sometimes, yes, we have done what is the bare minimum? Someone loses someone. If it's grief, we have stayed with them. We have gone for burial. We've probably given food. People have contributed money, but you find that this person has still not come around. It's been a period of time. I don't want to put a time limit on it. And this is where actually we ask our employees that could we tap to the next consultation that could make this journey meaningful. you don't want to be a tailor who is stitching a cut, for instance. Yeah, that person needs a doctor, because as much as you know how to stitch, that again is not your domain. So it would need them to actually be assessed for us to see, when we say that they're in a crisis, how deep is that crisis? If they have been at it for, I don't know what a long time is, but this could be periods of times where you have you've seen maybe beautiful things happening in their lives, but they still seem to be in crisis. You know, like mothers, when they give birth and they get into the post-traumatic disorder, you're so happy, like it's such a joyous moment. The family is happy, we have a new family member, but the mother is depressed. So at that point in time, whereas probably the family is excelling, if they did their will of life, they'd say, oh, we are very happy, we have one new member, but the mother is very anxious, she can't give her child milk. She actually wants to get away from the child. So in that instance, that's where we recommend the counseling, because there's so much of helping you can do. And I've seen sometimes even my HR colleagues overstepping the line, and I've been cautious to tell someone that's not within my area of expertise. So let's walk that journey with you. So I hope that somehow helps.
All right. I think we're getting to the end of the session. Again, thank you so much, Coach Ruth, for this session and for coming through to help. You could see there's a lot of interaction and interest, which shows that we need these conversations to come through. And if you're part of an organization that you feel your employees may need this information, I think you could reach out to Coach Ruth. Maybe you could have this session for your employees, or recommend someone. And I like the fact that you also partner with a therapy organization. I believe depending on your situation, where you are, you can easily be guided to find right support. Just like the way we have physical health, mental health is serious. You need to be able to know when to seek that kind of help. Coach Ruth, as we conclude, I know, yeah, there's a hand from Stephen. I think we can just summarize. Stephen, will definitely allow you to come through and be able to ask your question. We do not want to leave someone in the picture. Yes, Stephen, as we conclude.
Okay, thank you very much, Coach Samuel. I my very first time here, so I'm really blessed for this session. Coach Ruth, thank you very much. I love your energy.
Okay.
I love your energy. There's a certain kind of magnet. There's a kind of attraction that it has really brought. Thank you so much for this session. I think what really stood out for me most was really the sack of concern. Really, that there are things within our life that we are control of, but what is really saddening that most of the things really that keep disturbing us are the things that are not out of our control. So I really have learned so much on that. And of course, the wheel of assessment, the wheel of life, you talked about it, and you talked about the mental thermometer, which really I've taken note of, and I think I'm going to implement it. So thank you so much. But then my question, I don't think it's sort of a question, but I think even Coach Samuel touched it, is yes, I have a group of young people that we often have this kind of career conversations, but also mental health and many of the other things that really concern their career journey and so forth. So I don't know if there is a way we can really get in touch and have maybe once off in a while you can come in and have a conversation, including Coach Samuel, by the way. So I don't know how we can get in touch and have these conversations as well.
All right, Coach Ruth, do you want to, you're going to share your, maybe your contact or how people can reach you? There was one question I think I had missed. I think this was from Innocent, says, thank you so much for the session. If you really need a mental health break, but the company that employs you can provide one, how do you go about that? I think you can be able to share that within your closing remarks. I think something that I think Stephen has just hinted on, there are certain things that we can control and there are certain things that we cannot control. But it so gets tough, especially in the workplace, but also in the environments where we are, where we have a lot of pressures that are coming externally, and some of these pressures are actually intentional in terms of either to bring us down or there are also pressures that just come from the outside in terms of there's a growing social media, there's pressures around people who have not gotten married, pressures around people who have not yet gotten children. And sometimes you're trying yourself, but every day, even as you try to get yourself off a given topic, somehow you bump into another group that brings back the same topic, which keeps on haunting you and haunting you into the process. So you could just speak through into that, how we're able to manage, especially the external pressures, and coping up and being able to appreciate that, okay, despite the pressures for growth, for success in various aspects, we need to remember ourselves as individuals and sometimes find peace in being selfish about ourselves. Yeah, over to you, Coach Ruth. So Coach Ruth has shared her contact in the chat box. Thank you. So they will be able to reach out, and I also shared her LinkedIn page. Over to you as you give your closing remarks, Coach Ruth.
All right, thank you. And yeah, feel free to reach out, Dr. Evans, or you can even email them. They'll be able to give you more details for those who need the counseling services. And wow, the external pressures, some of them are actually within us. We're the ones who are deciding what pressures we are going to participate in. So I believe it starts with us being able to map out what is important to you. And it can be answered with the power of being present. Like right now, I have little children who went to bed and I had told them good night at 6:40, so I could log in on time. So I had to make a plan to be able to come earlier from work so I could spend even 1 extra hour so their bucket can be full of love, and for them to be accepting that you can actually say goodnight to mama at 6:40 so she can attend her training. And I helped, they helped me set up even the banner at the back, because I'm actually seated in one of the, I'm seated in their playroom. And when I explained to them that I'm doing this so other people can benefit, they said, yes, mommy, we are so proud of you. They accepted. So my being here does not mean that I have lost my children, but I'm going to spend more time with them over the weekend. And sometimes even as women, as you're winning on one side, you're losing on the other. So that's why I'm saying the pressure points. It's us to determine where are we needed right now. If you have a young child right now, your young child needs you. So it's, yes, I know there's the growing concern of what will this child eat, and probably it could help with a bit of planning in advance. As nursing mothers, I'm speaking on behalf of mothers. If you're at a place where your partner can have that conversation that, could I be present here for the child? And that's all what this child needs right now. So the question should go back to us. Who needs me right now, today, on emergency? Right now, my children are a bit older, so I'm able to go to work. But when they were younger, I had to make a decision to spend a bit of more time, intentional time, and not have to do work. And that was possible because their father could be able to support me. But how about that one who's not able to get the support they need? Look for a support system around you. I've seen families that are leaning into their extended family. It's unfortunate sometimes, yes, it means the children going away, but sometimes there's that conflict. I need to do this. I've seen mothers and fathers sending children to boarding school so they can be able to make a living. I guess at the end of the day, there is no correct, a measure as to what you define as a good pressure. So ask yourself, whatever is giving you pressure, what's the trade-off? Because you're going to be, I mean, you're a human being, you can't be in 10 places at the same time. Even for you as an entrepreneur, there's a big trade-off. If you're going to be one of the top startups in Uganda or in East Africa, there's going to be a trade-off. So what kind of pressure are you going to go through? You need to count the cost and know that for me to build this business, I'm going to have to let go of those late nights. You can't go out having every night, you're hanging out with your friends and there's a business to build. So the entrepreneurs I know right now are really positioning themselves, because weekend, depending on the business you're in, there are people who are buying a lot more over the weekend. So there might be a sacrifice of the time you're going to spend with friends and family. But don't compromise on your health. That's why I'm saying have a no-go zone for the things that touch on you. You cannot serve from an empty cup. You cannot grow that business from an empty cup. So if it's something that's eating into your sleep, into your pattern of feeding, into your time of rest, into your time of seeking the spiritual nourishment that you need, be able to raise a boundary and put a boundary higher. So personally, what I've done, I have booked myself on the calendar. Same way I booked this session, I have booked myself every day. There's going to be a time where you try to reach me, unless it's my immediate people who I know I've put their numbers, they can reach me. There's a certain point I will not be accessible, because that's the time for me to rejuvenate. So learn which boundaries you need to raise, understand also which spaces you need to show up. You need to stop showing up in, because if you're a mom, then it's pointless for you. If you're able to stay home with your child, this child needs you, especially for the first 5 years, because their brain development is going to be affected or infected by the people in that space. So if it's your young business that needs you, there's going to be a trade-off. And for the employee, yes, who I know is also struggling with the side hustle, you're going to have to make that decision of mental fortitude, that there's so much I can do. Like now for me, who has a full-time job, there's going to be areas I've had to let go of Badili, and I've had to hire other people to come and take on that. In some areas, I've been able to tell some clients, I'm sorry, maybe this other person can serve you for this time. But every day I've made a commitment, even though it's showing up 20 to an hour or even to 2 hours, or weekend I have more time for the business, then it's up to you to define what's that pressure point. Because as you show up in this area, there could be another area that's losing, but in quotes, it may not be losing, it's just not its time. So let's learn to be present. And I wish you guys all the best on this journey of, first of all, finding yourself, finding your motivation, and also finding your deeper purpose. And in knowing that we all were created for community, find your support system, find your tribe, find people who get the best out of you. Thank you so much, Coach.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming through to this session. And thank you so much, Coach Ruth, for creating time for this space. A lot has been shared, and I know that we'll be able to put into practice. And I know it's a continuous conversation. It's not a one-day thing. We do not get wellness in one day. It's a continuous conversation and continuously prioritizing yourself and being able to take care of some of those things that sometimes we ignore. So thank you so much. For me, it's been insightful. To all those that have joined us for the very first time, this is the Transformation Professionals Club. We usually have these conversations every Friday. We now also have entrepreneurial conversations that are specifically to entrepreneurs, where we get to hear from entrepreneurs who are successful, entrepreneurs who are made different milestones, but we also get to hear from entrepreneurs who have gone through ups and downs and able to share with us their stories. We also get to hear from professionals that are sharing with us on different aspects of marketing, HR, operations, because this is an era where we have quite a number of people who are thinking of running businesses. Either you're just an entrepreneur who is passionate about entrepreneurship, either you've lost your job and you want to test entrepreneurship, or either you want to be able to just run something alongside your day-to-day job. So we want to invite you to our community. We have quite a number of resourceful people and quite a number of programs that are within the pipeline to help you get equipped. If there's one thing that has really helped, is the power of community, making sure that you have a community that you go to and you pour yourself in, and also you fill your cup. That helps you at the end of the day. When you listen to something, put your mind to it, even what you think you thought was actually a problem, it ends up to really be something is easy to really encounter. And also speak up. Do not make yourself be in a place where you're holding on to whatever you're going through. Sometimes like it is said, a problem shared is a problem half solved. Sometimes we need to be able to open up, find people that you're really comfortable to speak to, have 1 or 2 friends that you know that when I pour into these people, they will be able to understand. Sometimes they're not even our family members, or they're not even our fellow employees, but people that you can speak to. Sometimes you may not even get the right answers from that person, but just being able to pour your soul out, being able to pour that kind of energy that is within you, at the end of the conversation, you just feel good. And for you who is good at journaling, you can also journal some. I've had quite a number of people say when they journal down some of their situations, it gets better. And I think there's one thing that Coach Ruth has shared. No problem is here forever. Every problem has a shelf life. Whatever you're going through will come to an end. And you're not alone in this picture. There are quite a number of people. This week I was sharing with somebody and I was like, I go through such a kind of similar scenario. And somebody's like, oh, I didn't know that Coach Samuel, you also go through such. We want to tell you that it's not what you see, let's say online or wherever. People are going through different scenarios. So you shouldn't get yourself to a circumstance where you feel it's only you on the wall. People are struggling here and there, but how do you show up and how do you react? I think Coach Ruth just shared with us that quote where she says, when you can't control what is happening, challenge yourself to control the way you respond to what is happening, because that is where your power is. Because you may not be able to really control a lot of things because they are external, they are not within your area of management. But what you can control is how you react to it. So I just wanted to just add a few takeaways from that session. And I know that we'll keep the conversation as shared within the chat box. You can be able to catch some of our conversations within the community. Make sure that you're there, make sure you follow, and make sure that whenever you go through these conversations, there's 1 or 2 things you're able to do. Thank you so much. And we wish you a blessed night. And may God continue to stand with you above everything. We understand that we're just human and there's God above everything. Some of the situations that we are going through, He has a reason why He has taken us to such situations. And we should keep our hope in Him and believe that despite the storms, He's one who calms the storms down. And there's nothing that is really too hard for Him to be able to bring down. So I just want to appreciate everyone who has come for the session. And I pray that may God stand with you and continue to elevate you in various facets of life. Have a blessed weekend and thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you, Ruth. Thank you, Coach Samuel.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Have a nice weekend.
Thank you.
Coach Samuel.
Thank you so much, Coach Ruth.
Most welcome. It's a pleasure.